I'm excited to share with you the work I'm doing using inspiration to drive conservation. But before I talk about what I'm doing, I want to share with you a little bit about the reason why and how I came to be doing it. I'm also going to add that every image I'm going to show you tonight is 100% real. So let me ask you, what animal do you think this is? I would wager many in the room might respond, and it is a manta ray, but might respond, isn't that a giant stingray, like the creature that killed Steve Irwin? But it isn't. It's a manta ray. It has no stinger. It has no teeth. In fact, it is completely harmless. It's also amongst the most curious of all marine creatures. And it's racing towards extinction right now because of unsustainable fisheries for its meat and gills. My challenge is to connect people with these marine creatures, such as manta rays, animals where they have no prior connection with, because it is all these creatures that play such an important role in managing the most important life support system of our planet, the oceans. My journey began over 2 decades ago when I took up scuba diving. Beneath the surface, I discovered a world so beautiful, so full of life, words just could not describe it. So I taught myself photography and filmmaking, and I set out on a global journey to document the ocean's most incredible spectacles and share these with the planet. I explored the reefs of Raja Ampat, Indonesia, the epicenter of global marine biodiversity. And I met my first sharks up close without any protection, including one of the most feared predators on the planet, the tiger shark. And I fell in love with him. Soon I was diving on reefs teeming with sharks and dancing with giant manta rays with wingspans exceeding 15 feet, while below me, squadrons of mobile arrays danced in the distance. I even discovered an aggregation of over 300 whale sharks off Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, and immersed myself in schools of sailfish of up to 200 animals as they ripped apart sardine bait balls. I frolicked with playful dolphins, cruised with pilot whales, and dived in to the frenzy as a pod of orcas ripped into a family of sperm whales. And I experienced one of the most intimate and touching experiences of my entire life when a mother humpback whale presented her newborn calf to me. As much as I've been captivated by these marine creatures, I've been unable to ignore how ruthlessly and systematically we have been wiping these animals off the face of the earth. Now, my belief is, once you uncover such an important truth, you have an obligation. No, actually, you have a duty to do something about it. So I began a decade-long journey to document and expose the destruction happening in the oceans. I discovered that sharks were being targeted just for their fins. From South America to Southeast Asia, in fact, any country with a coastline, fishermen were now targeting sharks primarily for their fins. And it wasn't just lots of sharks. It wasn't hundreds of sharks. It wasn't thousands or tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of sharks each and every single day were being landed. And why? For their fins for shark fin soup. In Taiwan, I watched as a single longliner unloaded 10,000 fins, over 3,000 sharks worth. Now, when you consider that Taiwan has over 2,000 registered longliners, deploying enough line to wrap around the planet 8 times, and they're only the 4th largest shark fishing nation. Over 100 million sharks killed each and every year, primarily for their fins. And by the time these fins reach the consumer, this trail of destruction has been erased, with traders turning blood into gold. But it wasn't just sharks. They were now turning to manta rays and killing them for their gills. And with the large fish disappearing from the sea, they were turning to dolphins and endangered sea turtles. And despite the 1986 moratorium on commercial whaling, several nations, including Japan, had increasingly started hunting whales again. So I came to the realization that if we did not move really quickly, in my lifetime, I would witness the death of the oceans. My imagery of this destruction has gone far and wide in global press, with coverage in most major media outlets. However, I've been saddened by the realization that despite all this incredible coverage, the world has remained largely ignorant and even uninterested in the destruction happening in the oceans. And as a result, this destruction has only continued. And then I realized I've been talking to the 1%, the already converted, many of the people in this room, but I haven't been reaching the other 99% of the planet in whose hands the fate of the oceans rest. My mission is not to raise awareness, but rather to inspire action and drive change. My awakening happened in one of the most unlikely of places, in a remote fishing community in southern Philippines. Here, a village that had once participated in the slaughter of whale sharks for their fins had now befriended these gentle giants, and they were in the infancy of establishing an ecotourism industry around these animals. I documented this incredible relationship, and I shared the story with the entire world. What struck me was the international response to this one image. People were captivated by the gentle and intimate connection between this huge shark and this poor fisherman. Now, 6 months later from Mexico, a fun image I posted on Facebook went viral. It occupied the front page of Yahoo News for several days and garnered over 100 million views since then. And I had to ask myself, why were people so interested in some random dudes staring down at a whale shark? It was a fun picture, right? But then it came to me, because this image, it spoke to our imaginations. Our childhood fantasies about these giant sea creatures that lurk beneath the surface. It connected human beings and whale sharks in a way that the average person could identify with. And suddenly whale sharks were worthy of international attention. So much so that my friend and ally Richard Branson joined us on a special Wild Aid Virgin Unite expedition to swim with these animals and raise global attention for the need to conserve them. But I've come to realize that most people are uninterested in the oceans and the creatures within them. People are caught up in their daily lives. And after a hard day's work, we want to relax, we want to unwind. We don't want to be reminded of the world's problems, and especially abstract issues such as shark finning and ocean destruction. We're influenced by pop culture and fashion, and we turn to mainstream media to escape. But it is here where we must get our message. At first subtly, but then leading to decisive action. And so I returned to the Philippines, but this time on a mission to connect people with these animals in a new and profound way. To capture real-life imagery of a mermaid dancing with these graceful giants. To shine a global spotlight on an animal that was disappearing because of our greed. To tell a new story of these animals, one where we dance with them, and where world-class base jumper Roberto Mancino leaps over their tails just as she soars off cliffs in her wingsuit. A story of connection, where these animals and human beings can actually coexist, where we appreciate them for their natural beauty, a world where we finally rally the conviction to conserve these gentle giants. But awareness unto itself is not enough, and especially for the manta ray, we needed immediate and decisive action. We had finally succeeded in getting manta rays on the docket at the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. This body of 178 member nations that meets only once every 3 years is the only binding international treaty on Earth to protect endangered species. It's the same treaty that protects rhinos, elephants, and tigers. Well, after a 4-year campaign leading up to the March 2013 CITES meeting, we realized just 2 months before the meeting, we had made a critical oversight. The world and most of these delegates had no idea what a manta ray was. And we feared that many of them thought it was a giant stingray like the one that killed Steve Irwin. So we only had 2 months to connect the world with manta rays and show them to be the beautiful, gentle, and vulnerable creatures they are, but also as charismatic animals worthy of international protection. And so we created Manta's Last Dance, a story of Hannah, a wayward gypsy. Estranged from her manta clan, she finally returns to the ocean, only to realize she's too late all the mantas are gone. So lost in despair, she lets go, and in a dream state, she dances one last time with her mantas. This is a sneak peek of the film.
And if I could spend some of that time I'm saving, I can imagine your face the minute you see me coming home. It's only a dream, 'cause you're far away, and time spent on dreams could be time saved. And there's so many things that I don't understand. I'm standing in line with my open hand, waiting for some explanation, something to hold on to.
Wow. We released the film 1 week before CITES, and within 24 hours, we had over 200,000 downloads, with features in the New York Times, Smithsonian, Wired, and media outlets around the entire planet. We took the film to CITES, and at a special reception for manta rays held for delegates, we inspired them. The following week, mantas won by a massive 80% margin of victory. The world had finally rallied when it mattered most to protect manta rays. Amazing. I believe art is such an essential tool in halting the destruction of these threatened species. By connecting people with the beauty and vulnerability of these animals, we ignite a new level of curiosity and passion for them. Because ultimately, it is the human connection that is central to conservation. Without it, our efforts will ultimately falter. But by harnessing it, we can change the world. Thank you.